Welcome to Cougan's Corner. On this channel I'm going to be reviewing different products. Sometimes it's going to be tech. Maybe I might even unbox something occasionally. If I had the money and just had people sending me new products, I would certainly do that. But for now I'm going to be talking about older tech, and I'll tell you about how that I use it and whether it's good or not. You know, a lot of people don't just buy their products brand new when they come out. Instead, they wait until later on, maybe 6 months or even a year later, to buy the product, especially because sometimes you can get it cheaper that way. So today I'm going to be talking about the Surface Pro, the 6 version, and I'm going to be also comparing that to the iPad. I don't know about you, but I always have this dilemma between trying to choose whether I'm going to get a Surface Pro or if I'm going to get an iPad. And so I'd like to talk about the difference between those two, and that might help you to make your decision on which one you might want to be able to get. One of the things I want to talk about on the Surface Pro 6 is that it has really come a long way from Surface Pro 3. That was the last one that I bought. I originally bought the Surface Pro 3 because I thought maybe it would make a better replacement for the iPad at the time. But the iPad, as far as being a tablet, it beats the Surface Pro all the way. Even this new Surface Pro 6, even though it's come a long way, and I really like it, it's got a really good tablet feel to it, but it just fails in comparison when it comes to the iPad. One of the things I really like about the iPad, and it's been consistent throughout the models, this is the older iPad Pro, but I'm still using because it works well, is that whenever you open up the cover, it's ready to go. You can get right into it. You don't have to wait for anything. But when it comes to the Surface Pro, even though it has improved its speed, it's still kind of slow. You have to wait for it to come awake. I wish they could make it just be awake right away like the iPad. But we all know that it's not like that. The Surface Pro has certainly made improvements on their cameras, but they still don't come close to how good the iPad takes pictures. Of course, that's my opinion, but that's the way it appears to me. And as you look at the Surface Pro, you'll also notice that it looks great when you're looking at the screen, and it does really good at scrolling when you touch the screen, but again, it doesn't work as good as the iPad in that area. One thing that's great about the Surface Pro is it does have a headphone jack, because you know that the new iPads and things like that don't have the headphone jack. A lot of products are moving away from that. But I don't know why you shouldn't just leave it there so that you can have both. I really like the keyboard on the Surface Pro. It feels really good, it types well. I enjoy using it that way. The screen is kind of small. I mean, it's about the same size as an iPad, but both of them, and if you're trying to work on a document, it can become kind of difficult if you're having to work on it for hours on end. But again, it gets the job done. One thing that I like about the Surface Pro is that you can just take it with you, and it has a pretty long battery life. I didn't get as long of use out of it as I'd like, and sometimes whenever you close it, or at least this has been what has happened to me, is that the battery will just drain down whenever it is just in sleep mode sometimes. But other than that, it'll go at least give you a good 4 or 5 hours of work. One improvement I wish they would make on the Surface Pro is I wish they would make a little bit of a longer of a power connector. I mean, it's nice that it has a USB port to give you some extra charging here, but it's just not quite long enough for me. I like being able to stretch my cord out a long way. Another thing is very important, if you're not going to have a dock for this thing to be able to set in and so where you can use a couple of monitors, if you're cheap like me, then you'll want to make sure and get you one of these little devices that allows you to use the video out port on the Surface Pro and allows it to go out to various kinds of monitors. And it only lets you do one at a time, I believe. I don't think you can do two with this, but it'll allow you to have that monitor and the one that's on the Surface Pro. And the way I like to set that up is I like to set up an external monitor and actually put it above the Surface Pro and use it up and down like that, because it works quite well since the Surface Pro screen is so small. Of course, you also need to have one of these if you want to have additional ports, because there's only the one USB port, and this will allow you to have more. And I just like to use a regular mouse, a USB mouse. You can buy the Bluetooth mouse so you can have that port open, but I have so many of these that I'd rather just use this and spend money on a USB or on a Bluetooth mouse. And one thing I do want to mention about the Surface Pro is that whenever I do output from the video port to the screen, it's not quite as clear as I would like it to be, but it's good enough to get the job done. Another thing that I like about the Surface Pro is that, of course, it's, you know, a full PC. You're able to use it. You can use the external hard drives, and you can do everything you can that a PC can. Now, it's not quite as powerful as some of the bigger laptops. This is the i5 model. I know that you can get an i7 model, but I have a laptop, a big one. It's a 17-inch screen that I've been using for like 10 years. It's by Asus, and it's still more powerful than this little thing, but I really like the portability of this, and I've been using it more and more. And so I can certainly recommend this as long as you're wanting to use it more for a tablet and that type of thing. But if it comes to just using a tablet and scrolling through Facebook and you want something that's going to be immediately on whenever using it, then I would recommend an iPad. And I got the little Bridge keyboard to go along with this because I was originally trying to use it, but it just doesn't work very well for trying to make this into a PC. Now I will say this, that Apple could completely destroy the Surface Pro or anything like it if they would simply add some more features to the iPad. If they made it easier for you to add on an external hard drive, and if they would just add in the feature to be able to hook up a mouse to it, that would make it a Surface Pro killer, because it is really important, at least to me, if I'm going to be using a Word document, or if I'm trying to edit something like an iMovie or some other program like that, it's really nice to be able to have a mouse to be able to control that than trying to use the Apple Pencil or trying to do it by touch. It just doesn't work that well. And so if they made it possible for those things to happen, if they would expand, again, that make it to where you could have an external hard drive, easy access to it, and they had that mouse, I would switch over and use an iPad instead of a Surface Pro. But who knows if they will ever do that. Another feature I like of the Surface Pro is the pen. Now, I don't use the pen a lot, but I do like being able to just click it one time on the back and it'll open up OneNote and you can start taking notes. And of course you can write, or you can turn it around and you can erase with the back side of it. If you want to take a screenshot, you can double click it. You can also use this to advance PowerPoint slides. And it also has a little button on the bottom of the pen so that you can click it and you can select around any text or anything like that, and it'll automatically select all of those different things. And of course it's handy for also if you're drawing things or you use Photoshop. And so it's useful for a lot of different things. And so that's another good feature. Also, I like how it will click to the side of the Surface Pro, and it's pretty sturdy. You can knock it off, so you have to make sure you don't lose it. You don't want to lose, you know, a $100 pen. And so make sure you keep up with that. One other thing I'm not really thrilled about, even though I like this black color, it looks really nice on the Surface Pro, this stuff scratches really easy. When I was just throwing it into my bag, being very careful with it, it didn't have anything else in there but the fabric of the bag, I noticed it started developing scratches in it. And so I finally just went to Staples and got a little carrying case, and it fits perfectly into this carrying case. And I also happen to carry my iPad along with that. And so far that has worked out well for keeping it protected. So realize that it does scratch easy. And so the battle will continue to go on between a Surface Pro and an iPad on which one is better. But from my point of view, again, if you're wanting a tablet, you should go with an iPad. It's just the best that's out there. But if you want something that does a little bit of both and you're mainly going to be using it for PC and writing papers and you want to be able to have control with a mouse and you want to be able to have external storage, then you need to go with the Surface Pro. And so I hope this information will help you out. If you like this video, please subscribe and also click on the notification bell so that you can know when new videos come out. And I would love to hear from you down in the comments what you think about when it comes to the Surface Pro versus the iPad and which one you like using the best.